Hi. Welcome back. Thank you for being here. I am preparing to do a layout for us today, just a general card reading. And I got inspired to do it because I just now watched the verdict in the Chad Daybell trial, which is the story of Tylee Ryan, Vallo, and Tammy Daybell are stories that I've been following close to the beginning. My sister is the one who first told me about the case, and I had heard a little bit about it. And then at that time when Tylee and JJ were still missing is when I kind of picked up the story and started following it, and then followed it more deeply until I became really focused on it. I've been following it very closely for the last, since 2020, really. And he was just sentenced to death. And so I have a lot of emotion about it, and I just wanted to share about that because these were really heinous crimes done in the name of religion and in the name of love, which is just a really egregious assault on our senses in the deepest ways. And without getting too deeply into my philosophical beliefs as an anarchist, I wanted to respond for this little reading as a victim, as a crime victim, because part of the reason I was led further and further down the road toward anarchism as a focused approach to what I believe in for how societies should be organized was because I never felt that I could receive justice in our system of justice. And this isn't to say that I just got to say, I'm celebrating this verdict. He was just sentenced to death. And I'm not somebody who, as an abolitionist and an anarchist, I don't believe in the death penalty. But I'm speaking right now as a crime victim who never saw justice nor felt encouraged to seek justice for myself. If anything, I felt terrified to seek justice for the crimes that were committed against me. And so I, even though philosophically I'm opposed to the death penalty and that would override most things for me, I think that this is justice. And I feel very enraged and have felt very enraged at him. For a long time, I've felt they were guilty from the beginning, he and Lori Vallo, and I want him to burn in hell. I'm just going to say it and so I'm not crying any tears over the fact that he was sentenced to death. And the last thing I'll say on this, because this layout will be about justice, that's going to be the theme since the verdict is what inspired me to do a card reading. So somebody who's seeking justice, what you should know right now, personal justice or collective justice for yourself. And what does that mean, and what will justice look like for you? I personally feel that this is justice, especially when I hear the victim impact statements. I just can't. And if you've been following the crime and the unfolding in the court system, it's really got so many layers to it about the dark parts of the human psyche and what people will tell themselves in order to justify carrying out really heinous crimes against other people or animals or the planet, right? And I just, the last thing I'll say about it is that there's this kind of running joke, it seems like, in pop culture of men wanting to dogpile on making fun of women who follow true crime and who have a fascination with true crime and who follow crime cases. And it's really common among women to do so. And I'm no exception. I started out being fascinated at a young age, and it became a fascination for me when I watched the movie Helter Skelter and got interested in the story of Charles Manson and the Manson family. And it's really rude and honestly feels sexist and quite dismissive when that dogpile on, you better watch out for her. She's all obsessed with true crime. And you know what that means? Like, even Cat Williams said it in his interview recently on Club Shay Shay, where he made fun of women who like true crime as those are big red flags, right? Like, what kind of psycho woman would be so deep into true crime? And I find that really anger inducing and off-putting, because all you need to do is sit down and watch a marathon of any true crime show, like 48 Hours or The New Detectives or the FBI Files, any of those shows that are based in truth, in true crime, right? If you watch a marathon of those over a day, who are the victims of those crimes over and over and over? It's women and children, mainly women, but also children. And it makes you sick. And it really comes into focus when you see that play out, because you're sitting down watching a marathon. Like, we've become so desensitized to violence against women and crimes of passion against women from jealous partners and jealous boyfriends or abusers or father figures, whatever, right? So it's so dismissive and insulting to be made fun of if you're a woman who's interested in following true crime. Why wouldn't you have a fascination with trying to understand something that is a very real and present danger in your life every day? If you're walking around as a woman, we all know it. It's all the truth. Sometimes women will try to find reasons to blame ourselves, because that's what the culture tries to do, is blame you. That's why I knew I would never get justice for the crimes that were committed against me. And in fact, one time, when I called the police in an emergency in high school, they didn't show up for an hour and a half, and they basically laughed at me when I was terrified about a crime that was potentially going to be committed against me. So I think it's really, I just have to say that, because as the more I'm saying it, the angrier I get. It's really important that you check yourself. If you think that's somehow funny or whatever, it's not. Women are by far the majority of victims of crime are women, and I'm just going to leave it at that. And in this case, it was a woman and children and a spouse, a husband, who was in the way, right? So it's just, please don't dismiss that, and please don't join in that kind of mockery of that kind of thing, because it feels very personally insulting as a crime victim that I should be made fun of or considered to be somehow sketchy or red flag because I have a fascination with true crime. Many women have that fascination because we are crime victims, and we're trying to understand how to be safe and operate bodily in our world from a safe place. And you know, for a long time, we couldn't even be taken seriously as having post-traumatic stress disorder from the crimes committed against us, the violation of our bodies that is a constant threat. It's just real, straight up. We don't want to think about it. It's uncomfortable to think about. But if you're interested in crime documentaries, it's fucking everywhere. So wake up, anyone who thinks that's some kind of joke. It's really not. And as a crime victim, I'm celebrating the death penalty for Chad Daybell. And I don't fucking care who thinks that's anti-radical, anti-left, anti-whatever. I'm speaking as a crime victim. So I'll just leave it there. And now this layout will be for anyone who's seeking justice. And this goes all the way up to the global scale, right? We live in a rape and violence culture. And if you want to look at it, it gets perpetuated in the prison system, which is why I'm an abolitionist. It gets perpetuated on a global scale with something like Palestine, and water, and theft over resources, and the murdering of something that makes our egos uncomfortable, right? I mean, it's just fucking crazy. Chad Daybell was clearly a narcissist, and I think probably a psychopath to boot. And so was Lori Vallo. You know, it's not, there's clearly women who suffer these same things. Like Lori Vallo is a great example. So what should you know if you're seeking justice for yourself? What's going to be important for you to know in your current pursuit of justice for yourself, your loved ones, your community, your family? What should you know about how justice is playing out in your life right now? This could be literally with the literal court system, or it could be karmic justice, either one. What do you need to know about some sort of violation that has gone down against you that you would like to see justice for? May Tammy, Daybell, Tylee Ryan and JJ Vallo rest in peace, and may their families find peace. Those victim impact statements really emphasize how deep the trauma runs around something like this. For two people whose egos were out of control, this is the fallout. You know, it's just sick. What should you know if you're seeking justice right now? Okay. So this is a great layout. This is for someone who's seeking justice. And I'm thinking that it's, so the cornerstone here is the High Priestess card. This is either representing you, or it's going to be representing someone in your life who you feel is acting against you from a powerful position. I'm not typically a reversal reader, but this queen or this High Priestess came in the reverse. And because it's a cornerstone card, very obviously in the reverse here, I don't want to ignore that, especially because right next to it is the Devil card. So this could be a figure like Lori Vallo. Lori Vallo is a great example of this. She felt chosen by God. Chad Daybell poured her mind full of that as well. And she already had maybe some tendencies towards narcissism, violence, and grandiosity, right? And Chad Daybell filled her full of that, as well as had those characteristics himself. So this could be somebody like that you're up against, someone who messes with your mind, who believes they're entitled to do so, who has a grandiose sense of self and their own abilities. That's kind of what I'm picking up here. Not a healthy High Priestess. Either that, or you are sort of a healthy High Priestess feeling attacked in some way, but I'm kind of thinking that it's the opposite, that you feel attacked right now from someone who almost seems like a witch or has power that is really difficult to fight back against. Right beyond it is the Devil card. So you may be feeling like this person has become like a devil in your life, like a demonic. I know that that's extreme, but sometimes, I mean, these are themes that were very highlighted in the Chad and Lori trial, in part because there was a greater spiritual community around them in operation, which is the LDS community. And they were kind of operating in this fringe element of that, right? So these may be themes for you, that you feel currently put upon or attacked by someone who's in league with the devil, right? Someone who you think from your spiritual position in life is operating from a dark intent, or dark places, or places that are like evil, right? And I think we can safely say that the acts that Lori and Chad and Alex Cox carried out were acts of evil. So I'm not afraid to say that. You're in a position right now of feeling like you have to protect yourself. And there's a lot of swords. 5 of Swords is a conflict, right? It's the conflict that you're feeling that you have to protect yourself from. And the facts are that there's some type of overindulgence here, or a lot of different ways that this person might have been attacking you. I'm going to pull some cards about the 7 of Cups here just to make sure I'm reading that correctly. What is it about this 7 of Cups here? Because these are the facts. It may be that you're being bombarded in some way, or I don't know. What is this? It might be that this person is using manipulation around an addictive process, and that's one of the ways that they're being controlling. I'm not really sure here. Let's see. You may be trying to sort through the truth or about this situation. What about the 7 of Cups? Can you give me some extra information about the 7 of Cups here? So the 4 of Pentacles is in where the energy is headed, and here it is right here, the 4 of Pentacles. So you need to be shielding yourself, and you're aware of that. You're trying to protect yourself and trying to determine the direction you need to take to keep going while you protect yourself. And you're also trying to rest a little bit from this conflict, and maybe get ready to have to keep going. Like you are sensing that this isn't over yet. This push or this struggle or the way that you're having to defend yourself is still playing out. You might be trying to rest right now and just protect yourself. And it has something to do with a child, possibly. This is the Ace of Cups here. It might also be protecting your heart from someone who's being abusive to your psyche and your emotions. It could also be that you're trying to protect a child, or your own inner child, right? The Ace of Cups is a beautiful card here to show up with these 4s and this 10th 7. So it's something worth protecting, whatever it is. It's something worth fighting for. You're aware of that. You're trying to rest and guard yourself, but you're aware that there's something bigger and more meaningful happening that means you need to keep up the fight. Your vulnerability here is that you may have had trouble making a decision around what to do in this circumstance, and that's sort of also echoed here with the 7 of Cups. Things may not have been clear to you for a while, or you may have been stuck in an inability to make a choice and move forward. You might have been just feeling at a stalemate where you were just plagued with indecision. That can also represent the weighing and it's not the Justice card, but the 2 of Pentacles can kind of mimic that a little bit, like the weighing out of the truth, and you've been in that process. It's a vulnerability for you that you haven't been able to have a clear focus or direction or understanding of the direction to go. At the very heart of this is defending yourself. You are in a position of standing your ground and defending what's important to you, whether that's your values, your actual literal resources. This Ace of Cups here may be a child or a home, right? It could be a pregnancy. It could be anything like that, that you're recognizing it as the very heart of that. You need to stand your ground and protect yourself from this. That's coming through very clearly. This toxic, witchy, like toxic energy here. And it's toxic feminine energy. It doesn't have to literally represent a woman. It can be a masculine person who's in this kind of toxic feminine energy. It's hard to say. Your strength here, even though the vulnerability was that you were having trouble deciding, your strength is that it's becoming clearer the direction you need to go with this 2 of Wands, which is this regal threshold into the next step. You're aware and conscious that you need to keep going and that you're about to cross into the next phase. So that vulnerability of being indecisive is over. You've recognized, I need to protect myself, and I can walk through the threshold into the new while protecting myself. So that's a nice 2 against a 2 here. There were also 2 4s here in these clarifiers and a 4 and an outcome. So that's interesting and maybe means something to you. Your shadow side is sort of echoing a little bit some confusion about this High Priestess and whether it's somebody that really was harming you or not. There's still been a little bit of confusion or maybe doubt about this, and we can pull clarifiers if we need to, but in the scene world, you're very aware that someone's been stealing from you, whether that's your welfare, your literal money, your peace, your what's to be yours in a destined way, your safety. Something has been working against you in a dark way, and it's just showing up again and again here. You're very conscious of it. Your shadow might be confused a little bit still and warning you at times about things that may not actually be threats, but it's not surprising because it's been confusing for you to figure out what is the threat here. Where the energy is headed is more self-protection, guarding your resources, but you want to make sure with a card like this can get you into a lack mentality that's not good for you either, where you're in a constant state of defensiveness, and that's not where you want to be ultimately. So this can also be serving as a warning here, not to get so defended and so paranoid that you aren't tracking what's real and what's not. You seem to have clued in that you need to protect yourself. You're pretty sure about it. It has a lot to do with protecting a child, either your child or an inner child or a love, like a pure version of unconditional love. Let's figure this out up here, this little triad of the theft, the shadow confusion, and the 4 of Pentacles, possibly leading you into being too defended or too... because there's very much an awareness that you need to protect yourself here. It's screaming at you and you're listening to it. It's not like you're not aware of it. This reading is really confirming that you need to protect yourself, that somebody is not working for your highest good or is trying to intervene in your welfare in some way. And you're really trying to understand how to defend yourself right now. That was true for a lot of the survivors of these crimes, because the people that were committing the crimes against their loved ones were also loved ones. They were crimes occurring in 3 different family systems against other members of the family. So there was a lot of confusion about, he would never do this. Our dad would never do this. Our son-in-law would never do this. He's been our son-in-law for 30 years. We have 5 grandkids that he's their father, right? Like, there was a lot of who is really telling the truth in the early stages of this crime. There was a lot of mystery. The children were missing for months before they were finally discovered dead. And there was a lot of confusion about Lori and Chad would never kill children. They would never, they're God-fearing, godly people who love Jesus and are part of the LDS church, right? There was just a lot of trauma for people as it slowly became clear, nope, that's exactly what happened. They murdered some children and their spouses that were in the way. It's in really horrific ways, no less. Terrorizing ways that terrorized the people around them. Really egregious type stuff. They'll be legendary crimes for sure, like the Manson crimes were. So I'm sorry, I'm back on that tangent. What's important for you to understand about this? Don't get paranoid, but you need to not lose your sense of discernment either. You might be breaking some kind of a pattern that's been passed down in your family of abuse, for example, because it says this involves an ancestral pattern. Look to your lineage or bloodline. So that's something that the LDS community, many people who've left the LDS community, are doing actively around this crime and other crimes linked to the Mormon church. That guy that just got arrested for going on all those rescue missions, that some of them were staged, right? Things like that. Animus. So it's important for you to recognize your inner divine feminine and masculine and work to integrate those. That's going to be helpful to you right now while you're trying to sort through who you can trust. It means not falling into like stereotypical thinking of the ego mind, but really going deep into your own energy poles within you. Something that neither Lori or Chad did, because they were both narcissists. So they only sought out things that fed their ego. Donald Trump is exactly the same. The only reality that's real to him is the one where he's being praised constantly. Anything else is unacceptable to him, and he doesn't care who gets harmed, right? Mother and child. So there might be some patterns between a mother and child, and this is here with this Ace of Cups. So you may be recognizing, I need to protect my child. There may be some conflicts about femininity in your life and who are the women that you can trust. Maybe having to do with your mother and child aspect of self. Let's see here. What else? What should you know about that mother and child card here? Is this literal? Like, are you being in a position of having to protect a child? This could be just themes from the case that are emerging here, because I was inspired by the case to do this reading. These themes are all relevant to the Daybell case. Lori is a mother who committed femicide. She participated in murdering her own children. So, or matricide. I think femicide is when women are murdered. She committed matricide. Is that the word? 5 of Pentacles. So that's that sort of fear of being left out in the cold, feeling like you need to protect yourself, feeling that you don't know who you can trust. There's a feeling that somehow you're going to lose out in this situation. It's a conflict for you about feminine energies. This may be a mother wound for you, or you may have recognized that you can't trust a feminine relationship in your life. It could be a mother, or it could be another feminine. It could be all women. You might have been taught not to trust women. And so now you can't figure out who to trust in this equation if they're a woman, right? Like, that's just kind of saying it like it is. It's possible because you have a fear and anxiety that women are not going to show up for you or help you based on this Empress card and the Queen of Swords card in reverse. So you're having to sort out the women in your life you can trust. That just is what it is. What is some advice for you? What's some advice for you? This is a card that's very feminine archetype based. It's the Maiden Mother Crone. What's some advice for you about dealing with not knowing who you can trust in your life in terms of the women in your life? What's going to be helpful for you to understand about it and about that experience? Interestingly enough, I had a similar experience. I didn't hate women, but my mother died in my infancy, and then I had an abusive stepmother who was terrifying to me and who could have killed me, honestly. And I then didn't trust women because of that, but I longed for feminine relationships because I didn't have a mother that was safe. And so it took me a long time, though, to feel truly safe in the presence of other women, in part because when women are mean to one another, it's often in a sneaky, underhanded way. And two, because my only representations of women growing up were either abandoning or violent, right? So I've worked to overcome that, though. I don't have a distorted sense of women anymore, but it's not unusual for people to grow up with a distorted sense of either men or women. What should you do about this confusion around women in your life? And this card is the Home card. It represents a crone. It's card 42, so that's another mirroring of the cards that came out here, because we have the High Priest. We have 3 2s, 3 4s, and then 42. And the 2 is the High Priestess Cornerstone card. So this is absolutely about your relationship to women and the feminine pole. This is a very healthy, integrated image of the crone here, soaking in this pool of healing. And I need to just grab the book. It's off camera here. I want to read the description because I think, if I remember right, the woman that writes these descriptions has like a doctorate or something. She's kind of a brainiac. Oops, wrong book. Here we go. This card 42, Home, is from the Lantern Oracle, which is a very beautiful deck. I don't use it much because it's a little heavy. It feels to me kind of heavy-handed sometimes, but I feel it's really appropriate, and it definitely is appropriate because it came out as a representational echo of these cards, which is nice. Card 42, Home. This can be some guidance for you about how to heal some conflicted relationships with women. May your body be where a harmonious balance of love, strength, light, and pleasure lives. The body is to be enjoyed. Pleasure is not an indulgence, it is essential. The crone featured in this card enjoys a state of bliss in the natural springs where her body is revitalized, nourished, and restful. She supports you in distinguishing true from false pleasure and prioritizing your body's need for revitalization, respect, and love. That is really powerful with this 7 of Cups and this Ace of Cups right here, and your need to protect that. Protecting your body is powerful. This just came through really powerfully. Protecting yourself bodily is important. Honoring and respecting wanting pleasure is not wrong, but you've got to have that in a balance with other things like love, like safety, right? In the natural springs where her body is revitalized, nourished, and restful, she supports you in distinguishing true from false pleasure and prioritizing your body's need for revitalization, respect, and love. Our bodies will always do their best for us, regardless of how each of us neglects our body or fails to fuel it with moderate nourishment, exercise, and pleasure. Even when we cannot or do not provide our bodies with a calm and safe environment or company, it remains our loyal and loving friend. It is always on our side, even when we judge it as inadequate. However, it does need our love, care, and attention and return, and not our punishment or neglect. So this is really powerful, powerful self-love, feminine polarity love, being willing to bathe in a pool that's going to cleanse away some of these distorted feelings that you might have been carrying around, or perspectives, especially taking care of your body. And this is coming through with this addiction. You may have been in an imbalanced state towards this relationship with your own body. Sometimes women get really conflicted relationships with their own body because their body is the source of a violation and an abuse and a crime enacted against them. So I have a loved one in my family who, because she had been violated repeatedly via rape, from people she loved and from other people she trusted, including a medical professional, she gained a lot of weight, and it helped her later on in life when she explored that, because she had been a beauty queen and revered as a great beauty in my family. And then everybody whispered how sad it was that she had gotten so heavy and well, years later, when she was speaking candidly to us about the things that she went through, she described that gaining that weight was a protection for her, so that men's gazes wouldn't notice her anymore, right? It was like a subconscious way for her to protect herself, because the attention she was getting from men became so dangerous. And so this could really be something like that, where you're coming back into harmony from your own body, which has felt difficult to be in. If you're a trauma survivor, sometimes being in your body is traumatic, because your body was the one that experiencing the trauma. This is really coming through. Ongoing deprivation will deplete your body to a point where it cannot continue to run on empty. Burnout will occur, and illness and injury can ensue. Drawing this card may signal that it is time to befriend your body, to love, maintain, and care for it as you would your most treasured and loving possession, the Ace of Cups. Love your body and yourself the way that you are loved by God, for example. It's the most valuable material item that you will ever own. Whatever you give it, it gives back tenfold, your body. Love is the best kind of food. This includes the way you allow others to relate to and engage with your body. If the interaction is not loving and does not genuinely support your bliss, confidence, and value, then lose it. Emphasis mine, then lose it. The momentary pleasure we enjoy from overeating chocolate, watching too much TV, or having loveless sex is ultimately unhealthy and unable to give you or your body what is truly beneficial. The same goes for depriving our bodies of various nourishment, or forcing it into shapes and sizes that we are told are beautiful but do not feel authentic or comfortable. Write down all of the things that you are grateful to your body for, and how you mistreat, neglect, and deprive it. Apologize to your body and list the ways you can turn any unloving behaviors into loving ones. Your body has and always will be the house you keep here. The acceptance, love, gratitude, gentleness, respect, honor, and pleasure it deserves starts with you. Really, really powerful. And again, for me, a testament to the sacred bodies of those victims of those crimes, and a testament to my body, that it has carried me through surviving these crimes, and that I can trust my body and not fear being in my body, and honoring my body and giving it what it needs, which is rest, which is protection, which is respect, which is not allowing things to come in and harm us, because we won't do the work to protect ourselves and love ourselves. So that's a really powerful message, that your way back to healing, or to continue healing this wounded feminine energy, is to keep loving yourself and keep protecting yourself from anyone who would take from you without giving back, right? People talked a lot in this crime as well about all the people that surrounded Chad and Lori that didn't do anything about their escalating belief system and mindset and the way they were starting to rate people, whether they were dark spirits or light spirits, and who has the power to do that? Well, Chad and Lori, apparently, right? And so people died because of that. It's like a really distorted version of love that was all about ego and sex for all the wrong reasons, right? This is a really powerful message that you can, if you got stuck in a cycle like that, or you were in a relationship with someone who didn't respect you or your body or violated you, right? Take care of that and love on yourself. And that's part of your healing and healing your feminine pole, right? So thank you for listening, and I'll be back later. Take good care of yourself and love on your body.